What's up, everybody? Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and I've got with me Bill Kessler from Beresford Booth. Thanks for joining us today, Bill.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Well, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself so everybody can get to know you a little bit, and then we'll kind of jump into the interview a little bit.
Sure. Again, my name is Bill Kessler. I'm a business and real estate lawyer at the firm of Beresford Booth. We are in downtown Edmonds. I do a lot of business law on the transactional side as well as the litigation side, and I do a lot of real estate law on both the transactional and litigation side. And have worked with Zach for several years, and happy to be here to talk with you guys a bit about tenancies in common and LLCs and people buying properties together in general, I think.
So, Bill, as we kind of get started with this conversation, something that is super common right now is people starting to buy homes together. In the past, people might buy a home together if they were in a serious relationship or family members, which I think is important for us to talk about too. But we're also seeing as home prices rise, maybe friends buying houses together, business partners buying houses together to help offset some of the cost burden. It's been more common in more expensive markets for a long time, and now we're starting to see that here in the Seattle area. So can you speak to that a little bit and what kind of advice you give people when they're thinking about purchasing a home, and maybe start with a couple that's dating or something like that, and then we can kind of progress towards people that are buying as maybe business partners.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say there's kind of three categories of people that buy together. One would be people that are dating. Another would be friends who are intending to live together. And then a third category would be people who are buying a piece of investment property together that they don't intend to live in. So we'll start with the first category you mentioned, which is people who are dating. And that is, there's a legal relationship there that's important to set up the right way at the outset. And that's true regardless of how people who are not married are buying together. They need to set up their legal relationship at the outset. And that does two things. One, it lets them it lets them have a document at the end of the day that if things don't go right, a document they can rely on. And most people think about that. They think, well, we should have a contract, so if things go south, we've got a document to rely on. But also, an underappreciated reason for having a contract is, regardless of the relationship situation, a good reason for having a contract is so you address the issues up front. And there might be some issues that you or your significant other or your business partner or your friends or whatever are thinking about, but you haven't crystallized those issues. And so having a contract and having a lawyer help you address these issues squarely and clearly really crystallizes the issues and helps people. The contract just doesn't help them have a document in case things go wrong, but it helps them really think clearly about their business relationship and makes them much more comfortable as they have clear eyes as they go into that purchase. So anyway, when you have people who are dating and not married that buy a property together, they should have what's called an agreement regarding status of property. It's very similar to a prenup, and people think, well, wait a minute, we're not intending to be married, or we don't know whether we're going to get married, we're just buying a piece of property together. But there's still a document that you need because you'll acquire, and I'm not a family law lawyer or divorce lawyer, but my law partner is, and this is a big piece of what these folks do is if you own a piece of property together and you're both working, or even if you're not both working, you own it together and it appreciates and you're sharing household expenses, you're gaining, you're at a risk of forming what's called a committed intimate relationship in the eyes of the law, a CIR. Yeah, it used to be called a meretricious relationship. And if a judge later, if you were to break up, there could be a lawsuit and the judge could find that a committed intimate relationship existed. And if that happened, then the judge would be dividing, it's called quasi-community property. So you might think, oh, well, what's his is his and what's hers is hers. and you keep your bank account separate, but that doesn't matter. If there's a CIR, all that's blended, and the judge is dividing it just like a divorce. They call it quasi-community property, but it's the same thing, functionally. So,
Gotcha.
So you want what's the equivalent of a prenup or we call it an agreement regarding status of property. It can be called all kinds of different things, but it's basically a prenup. So that's the document that those folks are going to want to have.
And it spells out what happens if there is a breakup in that relationship, or
Correct.
they decide that they want to sell the house. It tells everybody what's going to happen, right?
That's exactly right. It's just like a prenup, and people kind of think of a prenup like, all right, it deals with our assets if we go our separate ways. Same exact thing, just without the marriage. But again, in Washington, you have a high risk of acquiring that quasi-community property together, and so you need to have that contract that deals with it, or it could be a mess.
Hey,
yeah.
I mean, getting clarity is super important. We deal with it in real estate contracts. You deal with it too. It's really important to make sure we're clear about how the process is supposed to go and how everything's handled. So makes sense to have that on the personal side too. Thanks so much for watching this video interview with Bill Kessler and talking a little bit about the different entities and ways to buy real estate together. I hope this video was super valuable for you. And if you want to talk more about buying and selling real estate here in Washington State, I'd love to be a resource for you. And if you want to talk with Bill a little bit more about how to structure a purchase or come up with some of these agreements that he mentioned in the video, I'm going to link up his contact information below, and you can always reach out to me for it as well.